My name is Ron Meyer. I'm Professor of Strategic Leadership at TIA's School for Business and Society. And welcome to Meyer's Management Models, insightful tools to kickstart your thinking. In this installment, I'd like to tell you about the digital platform map. Now, this tool actually helps you to answer the question, what is a digital platform and can one emerge in my industry? There's a lot of talk during the last couple of years about digital platforms. People use the word all the time, but what do we really mean by a digital platform? And are there actually different types of digital platforms? Now, this map actually helps us to see that there are 6 different types of platforms. So it's interesting to think about which one of these might actually come up in your industry. Now, what all of these digital platforms have in common is that they work on a many-to-many basis. It's only a platform if you actually connect many on the supply side to many on the demand side. So that's what a platform is all about, creating that type of an infrastructure to bring those two sides together. Now, that actually could be the basis of your business model. The most common one, I think that most of you will recognize, is that of a marketplace. That's where you bring together supply and demand. And you can think of companies like eBay, Uber, and you see a number of others as mentioned here. So they all work with physically actually bringing the sellers and the buyers together. But there are actually 5 other types of platforms which all work slightly differently. So let's take a look at those. The second type is what we call a search platform. In a search platform, we're also bringing together supply and demand, but it's actually the demand for information and the supply of information. You already recognize Google and a number of other search engines. Now, a third category of bringing supply and demand together is what we call a repository. And a repository, it's not done at the same time, but the supply is actually brought into some place, say a library, a virtual library, and at a later moment, people will actually come to pick up what they require. You'll recognize YouTube, Wikipedia, as a number of these examples of a repository. Now, a fourth type of platform is a communication platform. Again, you recognize the supply and demand, but it's the supply and demand for communication. There we have the Skypes of this world, the WhatsApp, and more. Now, that blends into a fifth type of platform, which is a community. So where we also bring together supply and demand, but on a more long-term basis. So recognize Facebook, LinkedIn, and some of them, like Twitter, are kind of halfway in between. They're already stretching from one type of platform to the other. And the sixth type of platform, that's a payment platform. Again, supply and demand, but it's payments, so the billing and the payments which are brought together. And there we see PayPal, Square, just to mention a few. And you'll already start to recognize, we put Amazon there on the border as crossing over from a marketplace into actually also going into payments. So this is just a simple map to think about all of these digital types of platforms and then to ask yourself the question, which one of them would work in my industry? So our key insights. This is actually a new form of intermediation. We thought the internet would bring us disintermediation, but the platforms are a new form of intermediation, bringing together 2 different types of party, many to many. So it's matching supply and demand. And we can use these platforms as the basis of a business model. It's not a business model yet because we haven't thought about how to actually make money on them. Now, why are platforms so important? Because they work on the basis of network effects. A lot of supply draws a lot of demand, which draws a lot of supply, and this is how they really start building and start turning into a snowball. And because of that snowballing, you see that companies that start as one type of platform will very often branch out and actually take some of the characteristics of the other types of platforms. So it would be interesting to see if any of these actually turn out to be companies that go into all 6. Well, hopefully useful to map your own business. And of course, the final question was, can one happen in your industry? I can't answer that, but maybe now you can. Hope to see you next month.